Kids can come on up. Right up here on this carpet. Have a seat. There's no age limit. All the children. All right. I think we have everybody. You guys fit all on that thing. Nice. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Can you hear me? Are you listening? Have you ever been told something that you didn't want to do? Like do your homework?
I don't have homework down at home. I love homework.
Eat your vegetables? Go to bed? Go to school?
I don't like going to bed.
Me either.
I like going to school. I like going to bed.
You like going to bed?
I like going to bed. I like going to bed. Bed is fun. I like going to bed.
I want to tell you a story about a man who had that very same problem. There was things that he liked and there was really some things that he didn't like. But I need you to help me tell this story. When I go, "Can you hear me?" I want you to say, "We are listening." Can you hear me?
We are listening.
That's outstanding. That was a very good inside voice. However, we are in the middle of the field, so we can say it much louder. So when I say, "Do you hear me?" I want you to say, "We are listening." Do you hear me?
We are listening.
Do you hear me?
We are listening.
I will tell you a story. Now, this story is a story that you probably already heard before, but it's a very good story, and I like it quite well, so I think I'm going to tell it again. This story is about a man named Jonah. And Jonah was a man of God, and he had a mission from God to go give a message to the great city of Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was an evil city, and Jonah didn't like it very well, and he didn't want to give any message to Nineveh. So he left, and he ran away all the way to a ship full of sailors, and they set sail in the opposite direction. You see, sometimes when we come across things that we don't want to do and we don't like much, we often try to ignore it and run away. And when that happens, well, things might not turn out as well as they should have. So Jonah and the sailors were setting across the sea, and God sent a great storm upon the ship. The wind and waves were crashing, and the sailors thought for sure they were going to die. So they cried out to their gods, all their different gods, to save them, and nothing happened. You see, when we don't have the true God in our lives, and when trouble comes, we'll cry out to anything, but it doesn't work. Do you hear me?
We are listening.
Do you hear me?
We are listening.
Well, as they were sailing along, the storm came, and they were all frantic, as I said, crying out to all their gods. At this point, Jonah confesses, "It's because of me all this is happening. Throw me into the sea, and the wind and waves will stop." The sailors didn't want to do that. So they rowed and they rowed and they rowed, and nothing happened. They're still in the storm. So they decided, okay, we'll throw Jonah overboard. And as soon as they did, the wind and waves stopped. And all those sailors that were crying out to all those different gods began to worship the one true God. Do you hear me?
We are listening.
You see, sometimes we have to go through issues in life and troubles and difficulties. Some of them, it's our fault. Some of it we had nothing to do with. But it's those things that draw us closer to God. Meanwhile, Jonah was sinking into the sea, and God caused a great fish to come in, swallow him up. Now that had to be a big fish. This big? This big?
No.
This big?
No.
You sound like one of Roger's fishing stories. This big?
No.
It was a huge fish, and probably, if not bigger. And Jonah was in the belly of that fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And while he was there, he began to pray. And God had mercy upon him and told the fish to spit Jonah out onto the shore. And Jonah decided that it's probably a good idea to follow God's will, plan, and purpose for his life. So he decided to go to Nineveh. So he got to Nineveh, that great evil city that he didn't like. He didn't want to be there in the first place. And it certainly wasn't a message that he wanted to give. Do you know why? Because he knew God could forgive. And he wanted no forgiveness to be given to Nineveh. So he went into Nineveh and gave the message of judgment that God wanted him to give to those people. He said, in 40 days, Nineveh will be destroyed. And he left. During this time, the people of Nineveh were heartbroken. And the message got to the king of Nineveh. And he said, everyone must repent. Meaning, people's hearts were broken so much that they wanted to change their evil ways. Meanwhile, Jonah's on the outskirts of Nineveh, waiting for destruction that wasn't coming, which made him very angry. You see, sometimes when we see God's blessings at work and even experience His grace ourselves, we can get so mired in our frustrations and anger that we do stuff that just doesn't make any sense, that clouds our vision. So Nineveh repented, and Jonah is sitting on the side of the hill just waiting for something to happen. God caused a great vine with a big leaves all around that gave him shade, and he was very happy. Then the next morning, God caused a worm to chew through the vine. God caused to chew through the vine, and the vine died. Then Jonah was very unhappy. And he was so fitfully angry that he wished he was dying. God said to Jonah, "Do you hear me?"
We are listening.
God said to Jonah, "Why are you so angry? You have such care and compassion for this vine. Should I not have care and compassion for Nineveh, such a great city that repented with so many people and animals?" And that is where the story ends. Now you might be saying, where's the happily ever after? Where's the happy ending? The happy ending is woven within the story itself. For a shipload of pagan sailors who worshiped so many different gods, even in Jonah's disobedience, they were led to worshiping the one true God. And that even an evil city repented. And that even a man who disobeyed God and tried to run away was given another chance. See, God is always calling out to us. He has a mission and a word for all of us. All we have to do is listen. He's calling out to each and every one of you, each and every day, calling and waiting for you to listen, calling you and saying, "Do you hear me?"
We are listening.
And that is the story of Jonah.
Wow.